channel. So for today's video, I am coming back again with another Ouija talk. And I know my last video was a Ouija talk, but the reason I am doing this one is because I was actually talking to a viewer in the comments of, I believe, my last Ouija talk about mentioning God around the Ouija board. So that is what today's video is going to be on, specifically why you should not mention God around the Ouija board. And I know I've mentioned it before in a few of my videos, because, you know, like I said, with the Ouija board, things kind of overlap. But yeah, just figured I'd make one video dedicated to this to just kind of go in depth. But before we get started, just want to make a few quick announcements. First, feel free to check out my TikTok. It is Queen of Horror 666. I post TikToks on there. Not all the time, but I have been posting on there a lot more. I've also been posting reels here on YouTube as well. So, yeah, but feel free to check me out on TikTok. Check out my Instagram. That is at horrorlover13. And there usually, that's where I'll post more photos and things like that. I post reels over there too. That's usually where you can see more of my makeup stuff, but I have been, well, especially come October, I'll be bringing my makeup everywhere, but check me out on Instagram. Also on Facebook, you can find me at Queen of Horror. Feel free to check me out on there as well. Okay, without further ado, let me shut up. Let us get into this video. I'm starting to think when I do these Ouija talks, I'm gonna wear this shirt. But anyways, let us get right into it. So like I said, topic of today's video is why you should not mention God around the Ouija board. Now I am thinking of making a video about it in the future, like why religions don't like the Ouija board. But specifically today, I just want to focus on why you shouldn't mention God. Let me put a quick disclaimer. So I'm not a paranormal expert by any means whatsoever. I am just a girl that likes scary things and spirits and all that other fun stuff. Like that, I'm nobody. Like I am nobody professional. So take what I say with a grain of salt. This is just for entertainment purposes. So to be clear, I'm not saying like you can't do it. You can. You have free will. You can talk about God around the Ouija board or while using, I'm specifically talking about like while using a Ouija board. There's just reasons why you should not. So the very first reason why you should not mention God, this is like the less intense one, but it can interrupt the session or like freeze the session up basically. When I say it can freeze up the board, basically if you talk about God around the Ouija board, it shifts energies where it could just close that portal off, right? Where like the board, it'll freeze up, maybe kind of like a phone call when you are in a dead area and you're trying to talk to somebody and then you just can't hear them all of a sudden. Same thing with the Ouija board, like the energy shifts. So then like the board will freeze up, you just might not be able to talk to the spirit anymore. That's the less intense one of why you shouldn't. It just might make your session end and boo-hoo, right? To start getting into the more intense reasons why you shouldn't mention God around the Ouija board. Another reason you don't want to is because it can offend or repel spirits. So usually when there is a mention of God, it can, especially in Christianity, it can be seen as like you're asking God for protection or intervention. So that could offend a spirit. They may not appreciate that and that, you know, you don't feel safe with them, so they'll get offended. Or it could repel them. You mentioning God, that intervention, that like legitimately could repel the spirit away. So I guess that's we're still not fully intense. But that's another reason why they say not to mention God around the Ouija board is because you're kind of letting the spirit know, like, I know this is risky. I'm not safe. I don't feel safe. I don't feel comfy. You're letting the spirit know that. So either they're going to just go away and be like, you know what, whatever, bye. Even though like your feelings are valid, they don't feel that way. They're offended. Bye. That's like a less, again, I guess we're still on a less intense side of things. That's another reason though why you wouldn't want to mention God around the spirit board is just, you might just scare the spirit off or hurt their feelings, and you know, they're already dead. So, okay, I lied before when I was like, oh, it's getting more intense. Now it is getting more intense. This is like I feel like this is the most common sense reason why you wouldn't want to mention God around a Ouija board. But like the biggest reason is because you can anger or provoke the spirits that way. So I've said it, I feel like I've said this so many times, but in case this is your first time seeing me talk about a Ouija board, With the Ouija board, you're more than likely not getting good spirits. You are probably talking to either spirits that are like in purgatory, depending on your religious beliefs. Like Catholics, I know, believe in purgatory, which is basically like earth, but spirits are roaming around. So either purgatory, or you could potentially be talking to like demonic entities, right? Like, which is really not good spirits. And usually when spirits are in purgatory, they're like, not all the time, because purgatory is really like a deciding place, right? Like, it's kind of like limbo, essentially. So these spirits, like, they could be vengeful or angry. Maybe they were like unalived or something, and they're vengeful and they're angry, right? So by mentioning God, especially to those that are in purgatory, they might get angry, because if you're in purgatory, it doesn't quite mean you've been shut out of heaven, but they're not there yet, and they're trying to get there. So that mention might anger them. And of course, if you have a demonic entity you're talking to, clearly they're not going to be happy if you mention God. So that's like a big reason why you wouldn't want to mention like God. Is just whatever you're talking to, you might anger it like, especially if it's a more like powerful energy, whether it's like a spirit or like a demonic entity, you might anger it. So that's where you would not want to mention God, is you don't know what might happen. And then my last one, which is kind of going to be, it's like a general thing, but broken down. Another reason you don't want to mention God around the Ouija board is because now, in a way, you're kind of letting a spirit know what your religious beliefs are. And from there, they can manipulate you, which I know it's kind of like, huh, what? Let me explain. For one, if you are like talking about God, you're letting the spirit know you fall somewhere under the umbrella of Christianity. So they might start mocking God, you know? And, which I know some of you might be like, okay, what's the big deal if they mock God? This is the thing, right? Depending on how you feel with your religion, like if a spirit starts mocking God, that might anger you. And I have said it in other videos, when it comes back to this one, spirits thrive off of negative energy. So they start mocking God, you start getting angry or even upset. That's a negative emotion. They thrive off of that. It gives them more power. Bammo, they're out of the board, right? Well, maybe not quite to that extent, but they thrive off of that negative energy. So mocking God might upset you or anger you. It will more than likely recreate a negative emotion. Next, might sound weird, but the spirit might try to pretend to be God or pretend to be something good, right? Like, I guess we could say like an angel or a good spirit, or like whatever, however your beliefs fall into that whole thing. But they might try to pretend to be God or like a saint or an angel or something, right? They might be like, oh no, I'm good. Like, or like, I'm God, which is a whole other thing, right? But they might try to do that. And now most of us probably, I would like to hope, would not be convinced, but you never know, especially too if somebody's using the board. Like if you're using it maybe to try to talk to a deceased loved one or something like that. Like, you know, so some people might feel more vulnerable and believe that, and that can cause problems. So I say that one's probably not as big of a deal, but that can happen, especially for somebody that doesn't know any better. Kind of going off of this whole thing again with like manipulation, they might use it to intensify fear. How many of you have seen a horror film where like there's evil or whatever, and like people are praying, or you know, they're holding a cross or something, and like the spirit does something like where you're like, oh! Like for instance, maybe there's a movie, like I've seen so many movies where like you have like a crucifix on the wall, right? And all of a sudden it like flips upside down and it's like, you know, so like they can maybe try to do things like that to intensify fear, like where maybe you're doing this in a room with a cross or a crucifix or whatever, like a spiritual symbol of God, and like they flip it upside down or throw it across their, you know, like they could do things like that to intensify your fear, where maybe you'll be like, ah! Your hand comes off the planchette, they can get out. So they might use that as a way to intensify fear. Or just most religions say it's wrong to use the Ouija board. Maybe they'll bash you for using it and, you know, make you feel bad. I don't know. But fear negative emotion. They thrive off of negative energy, specifically like bad spirits and demonic entities. They thrive off of negative energy. So intensifying fear would create a negative emotion. Okay, and then the last part of this, I know I'm like, we had like main points and then this one's just really in depth. But you know, another way they can do manipulation is by challenging, right? And what I mean by challenging is they might try to challenge your faith. They might try to challenge your beliefs. Like, kind of like I just said a little bit ago, like, like you're using a Ouija board. Like, are you sure your faith is as strong as you make it out to be? Like, I'm not bashing anybody that believes in God and has or uses a Ouija board, to each their own, just putting it out there. Like, this is, like, they might try to challenge your faith in some way. Or, like, and if they challenge your faith, that could make you feel confused, that can make you upset, angry, which again, all the manipulation and everything I just said, it all comes back to negative emotions, creating that negative energy that they can thrive off of. And I have talked about, I actually did make a video before on how to get possessed. Don't actually try it. It's more going over the steps, but how possession works, like specifically with the Ouija board, is like if you take your hands off the planchette, that gives them a way out, and yeah, I can go from there. I should make a video on how to get possessed using a Ouija board. Not literally, but like how that would happen. Let me know if you guys want to see that. But yeah, so they could really, with manipulation, I guess, the ways they can manipulate you is like mockery, pretending to be God or some like good angel, spirit, what have you, intensifying fear, and trying to challenge you. So yeah, there's that. All right, so to give a quick recap on why you should not mention God around the Ouija board, and again, you can mention God if that is your choice. This is why you should not. I'm not saying you cannot, because you have free will, but you should not. It can interrupt the session, make the spirits, you know, like a phone call, losing service or losing a connection because the energy shifts. It can offend or repel the spirit. It can anger or provoke the spirit. And then finally, you letting it know your religious beliefs can cause it to try to manipulate you in a variety of different ways, as we have learned today. So that is a sum up, again, of why you should not mention God around the Ouija board. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Let me know if you like what other Ouija talks maybe you want to see me do, or just videos in general. There's so many different things I could talk about. But let me know what interests you, what you guys want to see me do next. I already shouted out my social medias in the beginning, so we're not going to do that again. But yeah, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe. I have been trying to post more, so feel free to subscribe because I'm posting more. But yeah, other than that, that is it. So till next time, bye guys! And just remember, always say goodbye.